small bits of housekeeping, we'll get to it. Just for upcoming stuff, next week, we normally have a meetup, but we do not next week. Jenny Munn and I have our SEO bootcamp thing. So no meetup next week. But in 2 weeks, Aaron and Diana are here with their developer panel, their developer session, exploring options for getting paid. Diana, you want to tell us a bit more? Like, who's getting, for you to get paid or to help people build sites where they can get paid?
For websites to create e-commerce payments.
Gotcha. Different e-commerce payment systems for sites. I imagine fairly technical, given that it's yours.
Mediocre. We're mostly going to compare them, like which ones are easier to implement and have multiple ways to implement them, or what the pros and cons are.
All right, cool. So that's in 2 weeks. That are all things WordPress meetup. It's all part of that one. The Tuesday, a week after that, or 2 weeks after that, September 13th, is Kathy Druins, who is now, no, September 13th?
September 6th.
Oh, it is the 6th. Oh, sorry. Okay, she is the 6th. It says the 13th in her meetup. I think. That's where it is. Maybe I wrote it down wrong. But September 6th is Kathy's at lunchtime over at the East Coast Government Center. The Essential Guide to Launching a Killer WordPress Site, Part 2. Although Part 1 was not required, so you'd be all right if you just show up.
Correct.
Then September 15th, back in here getting the most out of email marketing. We'll talk about MailChimp and Constant Contact and writing good subject lines and comparing and contrasting, all that kind of fun stuff. And then September 22nd, I called it I don't have time for this meetup because I hear people say they don't have time. So we'll talk about time management, task management, calendars, and some fun tools we use. We talk about that stuff a lot, but it should be kind of fun to hear. There's so many different ways to make yourself more organized and efficient, so we'll run through a lot of those. But Carl, you want to come up?
Yep.
So we have the wonderful Tom and Chi, thanks Carl Becker and ClickHost. So he'll say a few words about how awesome they are, and if they really are.
Thank you. Oops. There we go. So there's a lot of new faces, so I'm the president and owner of ClickHost.com. We're a local web host, and we provide specialized hosting for WordPress. This meetup is, a lot of times it's about WordPress, so that's what we do. And we're starting a new service where we're hosting on Amazon Web Services. So this is for larger, websites with lots of traffic, Magento, e-commerce type sites. So we have packages starting at $50 a month. And we always have a drawing at the end of the meetup. So if you are interested in us spamming you, please put your business card in there. Not really. But we will have a drawing for Tom and Chi gift cards and also for an Amazon.com gift card. So I'll start over here and just let the bucket go around.
Well, Gretchen, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Carl, because ClickHost actually helped me out very much this week. I got into a jam with one of my clients that I just started on ClickHost, and he and his team were extremely responsive, so thank you.
Thank you. So you're Gretchen.
I'm Gretchen.
Thanks, Tom.
And Tom Tortorisi will you can tell them all what you're talking about, because I'm not sure where you're going. So.
Thank you, Mickey. Thank you, Paul. I am Tom Tortorisi, and I actually started out as a designer. It was always about good design, and I'm grateful that most companies appreciate the importance of a professionally designed website. Will we pay for it? Not all, but most. And as designers tend to do, I've trolled around online looking at awesome websites for inspiration. But when I started to look closer, I noticed something interesting. Yeah, we
Can't hear you back there.
okay. A lot of those professionally designed websites are filled with weak, even amateurish writing. I mean, clearly more thought was put into the company's colors and fonts than into their core messages, which kind of surprised me because as much as clean, distinctive web design can help define the brand and offer credibility and a great visual experience, I can't say I've ever actually what the company's product and responded because I like their website design. On the other hand, it feels funny to admit that I have responded and bought stuff on ugly websites. Maybe you have too. So I'm not sure I found all this kind of curious, but it got me thinking. Now, if people are shopping online for things like jewelry, photography, home decor, it's really the nice images of beautiful things that help entice people and move the sale forward. But most of our companies and most of the sites we work on, for example, business services, don't have pretty products to show. So I asked, well, what is it strategically that drives people to stick around, click around, engage in some way, and eventually buy? The answer seemed to be, it's the written word. And that's when I decided to become a copywriter. Which of course brought up some other issues. How do we actively sell these days without sounding salesy? How do we engage an online audience with a notoriously short attention span? And how do we stand out among competitors who pretty much sell the same thing? These are challenges, yes, but they're worthy challenges, and there are some of the issues we'll talk about today. But first, I want to make a distinction between web copy on our homepage and product pages versus web content such as blog posts and white papers. For our purposes here, copy is for selling or showing people how they can solve their needs by buying our stuff. Content is for educating or helping people solve their needs by offering good information and insights. So it's an important distinction. We use content marketing as bait to draw people to the copy and hooks on our sales pages. So today we'll focus on writing web copy from 3 angles: the strategy, the pages, and the process. Are you ready? With business websites, I found that even more important than the actual wording is the strategy behind those words. And the first big picture strategy issue to consider is, do we want a website for our company, or do we want a website for our customers? Put another way, do we want a corporate style website, mostly talk about our firm and our vision, or do we want an active marketing website to drive engagement, responses, leads, and sales? Say, for example, the first company that developed business collaboration software. Business collaboration software was really selling the idea of online collaboration. But now there are several such tools online, and they're all competing against each other. Now, let's see. I changed my notes around at the last minute. Probably shouldn't have done that.
Nice mission statement.
Okay, so with the corporate approach, some companies seem to think this kind of stuff will impress people. Now, I don't know, if I show of hands, how many people are impressed when they see verbiage like this? 5.8 exactly. It's an approach that focuses on what the seller supposedly thinks. It's all about we and our and us. But a true marketing website approaches things more from the buyer's perspective. It means digging deeper into understand what that person is really trying to accomplish, and looking closer, in this case, at a parent's universe of perceived needs, unspoken needs, influences, constraints, beliefs, and feelings. A good marketing website starts there. Now, is that company more likely to make a genuine connection if they boast about what they're proud of, or if they tap into what the parent is proud of? Okay. The inward-focused approach, I find, can be more common when companies write their own web copy. But here's the thing, from the visitor's perspective here, their own child is more important than your company by an enormous margin. So start there. So I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about our company and its capabilities on our website. Of course we should, but it might be a more effective approach if we started with what the customer is trying to achieve, and then lead them to our product as the natural solution. Now, let's say we have a residential real estate company and we develop some technical innovation, and that's great. But maybe our technology shouldn't be the main thing. Maybe use the customer benefit as the main thing, and maybe use our technical innovation to support that claim. So it's not just about what we offer, it's really more about what you can have. And I think simply understanding that difference can take our website copy to the next level. Another approach is to create a single benefit statement that covers both what we offer and what you can have. A marketing paradox. Remember, a company and its products are only relevant through the eyes of the buyer's own perceived needs. But here's the thing, as business owners, as employees, as company insiders, we naturally carry an insider's perspective and set of assumptions, which can actually be a handicap when we're writing for outsiders or other folks who are coming at this from a very different perspective. So, part of our challenge as marketers is to go beyond how we see our company, or even how we see our customers, and refocus on how buyers see themselves. Immerse yourself in their universe. What was the situation that led to their online search for a solution? What do they think about the various options out there? What questions do they start on? If that's where they're starting, that's where we need to start. Now, strategically, there's one marketing question that any company has to answer before starting a new website. Unfortunately, since that question is almost never asked, some sites go spinning off in the wrong direction and never even realize it. And here it is. Are we mostly selling the idea of our type of product to people who haven't considered it? Or are we mostly selling competitively against other companies to a small qualified audience of active buyers? So why is this important? Let's say we're in the residential landscaping business, and a homepage might try to sell hardworking homeowners on the idea of professional landscapers. Okay, I mean that's kind of fun, but here's the problem. People trying to reach here, do-it-yourselfers who do their own planting and gardening, aren't searching for landscapers online, so they have no reason to ever land on your site. So who exactly are we talking to here? Well, chances are the only people Googling Atlanta landscapers are higher income homeowners who are already convinced of the benefits of having a landscaping service and are comparing various vendors online, right? So that's why it would be important to offer some kind of unique approach or competitive advantage that helps us stand away from the pack. So let's say we ask some questions, we jot down some notes, and it turns out that the head of the company is a master landscaper. So that might be a differentiator. But the problem with that is it's still about the company. How can we make it about the customer? What's the benefit to the homeowner? So how about this? So that's better, but let's keep going and take a closer look at homeowners who pay for landscaping, and we might find that they tend to drool over the pictures in home and garden magazines. That lets us take things a step further. Okay, so now we're getting a little further along. The headline has a strong emotional appeal to that particular market, and then the subhead supports that claim with a logical reason why we're uniquely qualified for the job. Okay? So the point here is that unless you have something totally unique to sell to that market, or all your visitors already know you, then online marketing is mostly a competitive arena where we need to differentiate ourselves to stand out. And to do that in a meaningful way starts by asking questions, not just about the company, but about the customer. Here you see potential benefit, but we have no idea what the company's selling. Uh-oh. And this actually happens a lot. Job one for the top of the home page is to quickly make clear what it is we offer and maybe also who it's for, so people know they're in the right place. And job two is to offer some kind of unique approach in which the company's advantage becomes an advantage for the customer. If we don't stand for something, then our marketing message is simply, we exist. And if we don't present our ideas in a fresh and unexpected way, then we fade in the background. So there are a few other ideas to help our web copy get us started. You can paint pictures with words, including how they're going to feel after they make the right choice. Plus, it's not always about selling them something, it can also be about empowering them to do something. Show you understand what obstacles are standing in their way. In this case, your perception that getting certified will take too long. And I think this approach is more likely to work because it's personal. It's talking to that person who's stuck in their career and is looking for a solution. It's less likely to work when the university makes it all about their school and their program. If we're solving a problem for people, we might want to tap into their pain. If we're helping them achieve something, it's about what we can help them gain. Here we address pain in the headline and gain in subhead. Kind of a 1-2 punch. For marketing a product or service, here's what I think it comes down to in the real world. In your copy, show folks that the things that are important to them are important to you too. This helps create a bond and a cultural fit. Instead, I see a lot of companies emphasizing how long they've been in business. Well, I think it's fine to mention somewhere that we have 7 years experience in web design, but you know what? Everyone has experience, so is that really a compelling reason to choose us? Also these days, I see headlines like, we're web developers and we're passionate about what we do. You know, I'd love the idea of that, but I'd also love to know exactly how your passion or your experience will help me shine if I hire you. In any case, we've been focusing a lot on that homepage banner headline because if we don't grab their attention with that, when I get no reason. Okay, now we'll go through the pages of the website one by one with some rapid fire copy ideas and suggestions that you may or may not have thought of. We generally plan a site based on 3 layers. The homepage is layer 1 with brief intros into the company's products, benefits and approach. Layer 2 is mostly product or service pages. And then layer 3 are deeper detail pages for people who are willing to dig that far. Homepage. Okay, overall, large blocks of copy on our homepage these days tend to scare people away. So we think in terms of smaller blocks of text, 15, 25, 50 words with a headline for each. With this limited amount of text, there's really no room for fluff or wasted words. In fact, each phrase should plant a seed, drawing people closer, step by step, to the conclusion we want them to reach. And of course, the whole point of the exercise is to build a temptation until they want what we have. Okay? And anything on the site that doesn't somehow support that may be more or less a distraction. 2, our homepage intros and highlights will mostly be aimed at first-time visitors and early-stage buyers. And of course, prominent and enticing links will take you to full topic pages. Number three, for buyers who are just starting out, there's probably an emotional aspect to their goal seeking. So let's reflect that maybe by empathizing or somehow making an emotional connection. 4, visitors usually start out by scanning your home page. They will read prominent headlines, but may or may not read your text. So let's make sure we put our most important benefits in those headlines. Okay? With those short attention spans out there, let's play the best cards right up front so they can't be missed. 5, you probably have a call to action button, but for visitors who are not quite ready to buy, adding a second button or in the header or just below it gives them another option. It could link to, say, a find out more page, which can take various forms. This could be kind of a next step for buyers on our home page. Use this page to expand on some of the themes we introduced in the home page. Maybe talk about some of the most prominent questions and issues out there leading to the next steps of working with us. Also, maybe offer objective tips, ideas, and insights that'll help people get closer to their goals. Because remember, to build trust, we can't just try to sell. We have to actively try to help. There's an interesting trend for product and service pages to look just like home pages. Because when people are doing a Google search, this might be the first page they land on. And it's just more visually compelling than an ordinary WordPress text page. 2, we said that early stage buyers tend to respond to the emotional aspects of a possible purchase. But now if they're digging further into the second and third layer, they may have switched into logic mode, now comparing the various details for making a final decision. So let's mirror that with logical arguments and competitive advantages. And in addition to talking about our solutions, we also might want to mention some of the most common problems and frustrations out there. Because if you address the issue that they happen to be having, they'll love it if someone understands it. Finally, since scanners often read headlines but not text, consider the importance of subheads. These are secondary headlines that can bridge the gap between the headline and text to draw the reader's eye in. Let's see, what's next? Blog posts. Overall, our blog posts shouldn't be promoting our product or service, but I think it's okay to educate folks on the benefits of the type of solution we offer. For example, cloud backups versus hard drive backups. But separately somewhere in a box or a different font, maybe include a sentence or two on how our product addresses the issues discussed in that blog post, and maybe include a link to a product page, and we do that to get more marketing value out of our blogging efforts. And finally, when choosing blog topics, don't write for do-it-yourselfers or for your peers, but write about the issues faced by people or companies who buy products and services like ours. Make sense? Now, likewise, I don't think people go to our About page to read about how wonderful we think we are. Instead, let's do a few things here, maybe on different sections of the About page. Let's reinforce what we sell, who benefits, and maybe something about our overall approach to helping customers as opposed to an inward-focused mission statement. Let's maybe a little bit about the nature, structure, and size of our firm. Short version. Next, let's take the opportunity to tell our story. Not a detailed company history, but what was the main idea or insight in our professional development that we've acquired, and what was the episode or obstacle that helped us get there? And how has that led to our current business or approach? The more human your story, the more other humans can relate to it. Finally, we can have a separate section that lists relevant awards and credentials, as well as any ways that our company gives back to the community. If you're doing a bio page for each employee rather than a detailed resume. Let's let their personality show through. Contact page, two things. One, make sure people don't feel like they're going to be obligated or pressured if they give up their personal info. This will make them hesitate. Okay? So let's keep our copy here friendly, helpful, and low commitment. Second, they're more likely to call or fill out your form if you let them know up front what next steps they can expect. This is more important than you might think. My recommendation on testimonial pages is to not have them. Rather, let's take our very best 3 bits and sprinkle them around our homepage and other pages, at least a medium-sized font, where people might actually see them. And I think the best quotes relate to specific customer issues and how we help solve them, rather than just general accolades about what a great company this is. That way you're letting your customers speak out in a way that does some of the selling for you. For the last part of our program, ladies and gents, we're going to talk about the copywriting process, including making sure that almost compelling messages rise to the top. It all starts with what's called discovery or gathering information, and that generally starts with the web writer interviewing the company president or other key players about their company, their industry, and what they want to achieve. A good writer digs deeper and asks questions that have never been asked before. Also, I might ask the same question in different ways just to get past the superficial answers and the first thing off the top of their head. If the company says they offer good customer service, don't stop there. Ask them to be more specific, and you might end up with a good nugget you can build upon. So be a detective. Approach things from different angles, different lines of inquiry. For example, I'll ask the client a question, but ask them to answer from their customer's perspective. I'll also ask when customers are happy, what are some of the things they say? And if someone chooses not to buy from you or not to buy at all, what might be some of the reasons? Ask what are the buyer's most common issues, questions, and obstacles, so we can address those up front in our web copy. Is there any way our product saves some time or money? Would be good to know. Ask about competitors, including their strengths and weaknesses, so maybe we could find a niche or an advantage or an unmet need. So we see how writing web copy isn't really just explaining what we offer, but it's expression of a strategy. And that strategy is based on meaningful connections between our company's strengths and what people out there are already thinking, feeling, and wanting. By the way, an in-person interview I find works best, but a Skype or phone interview as well as a written questionnaire can work as well. Now, when people are sitting down to write web copy, they'll generally open a fresh document in Word or a page in WordPress and start typing. You know what? That's not the way to do it. You know why? Because the actual writing isn't the first step. It's the last step. What we first want to do is review our notes and see if any themes or patterns emerge. Next, for each page or section of the website, let's create a separate Word document. Then, let's rewrite all our original notes, but this time each benefit point gets dropped into the appropriate Word document. So when we're done, we have several Word documents containing the points or the notes for that particular web page or section. So don't worry about actual wording quite yet, but do look for ways where we can connect our company's strengths with delighted customers. Then, after we've categorized those points, the next step is to prioritize the benefit points in each of our Word documents. What's the most important point on that page in terms of the buyer's perspective? Maybe mark it as an A. Second most important could be a B. Other points could be C's. We'll also consider whether our lowest ranked points should just be deleted, just not as a shred from what's going to be. For me, a surprising amount of work gets done in this note rewriting phase. Now we're finally ready to start the actual writing. Now first for each web page, let's take our most important benefit point and somehow express that as the main headline. Let's take the second most important point and make that the subhead. The text would support those points and include other items from our list. If we do it right, we should end up with a clean initial copy draft that is strategically on target. And that generally doesn't happen when we're just writing off the top of our head. Next, let's go back and see where we can improve or polish our copy. Is there a way we can make a point more clearly or in a fresher way or in fewer words? Being succinct is more important than ever. Right? So try to avoid long sentences and long paragraphs. Our first sentence should intrigue people to read further. Often you'll see a vague and obvious opening line, and sadly you could lose your audience right there. Our closing sentence should be strong too, and maybe circle back around to that emotional connection to set up the call to action that follows. 5, use an upbeat, active voice rather than a passive voice, starting some sentences with the word you, or at least an implied you. For example, get unlimited online backups versus we offer unlimited online backups. And remember that smart people today respond to specific facts and benefits rather than vague claims and promises. Finally, let's keep the tone of our writing informal, friendly, and helpful, as if we were having a conversation with that particular reader rather than an authoritative corporate voice, which actually only tends to create distance between the reader and the content.
Tom? So the informality, do you apply that across the board? Page copy as well as blog copy?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think it's just more approachable. And I just think it draws people in, instead if it's conversational. SEO. Most things you read about SEO today say start by appealing to humans rather than just search engines, because compelling, well-written copy drives engagement, gets people to read and click and share and come back again, and that's an increasing factor in Google's algorithms. Plus, adding third layer topic detail pages, as well as blog posts over time, makes Google happy and gives us a chance to add keywords, 1 and 2 per page, using our headlines and text. Now, it's a good idea to use our primary keyword in our main H1 headline, but if that doesn't work out, as is often the case when we are writing for humans, then use it in your H2 subhead instead. And by the way, Google is more likely to rank pages that have at least around 300 words. And I know there's sometimes a tendency to try to minimize the copy for a more pristine looking page, and I get that, except you might not have enough copy then to either attract Google or to really build a strong case for those cautious buyers out there. To attract ready-to-buy shoppers, naturally focus on specific long-tail keyword phrases rather than broad single words. For example, someone searching for pink bunny slippers seems to know what they want and is getting closer to buying rather than somebody who's just starting out with, seeing what's out there by typing in the more generic term. But don't overdo it with keywords, or else we'll end up with unreadable silliness like this. Okay, one last section, let's finish up. So if you're thinking of writing copy for your own site, but all this seems like a lot of steps and a lot of work, and you know you're just too close to it, that's where there are copywriters out there. Or if you're a designer and you want professionally written copy to go with your professional design, that's why there are writers. Plus, if you're a designer, you know that waiting for the client to cough up the copy and content and bring the project to a screeching halt. You know, as important as this is, clients struggle because they're not writers any more than they're designers or coders. But when you do choose a copywriter, remember that conversion optimized marketing writing is kind of a specialty among writers, so it's really different than, say, blog writing. Anyway, the process starts with an initial talk between the writer and client and an agreement on the project scope, so the writer can do a price quote. And be sure you determine up front who will provide a short list of keywords if needed. Now, if the web design firm is bringing in the writer, that writer can work directly with the client and get paid by the client, or they can be brought in as part of the dev team and be paid by the design company. And in that case, copywriting would simply be a line item on the website company's original proposal. 2, preferably the writer does the writing first as they determine the sections of copy needed to convey the right sequence of messages. Or sometimes the designers will start first and do the design, and the writer will need to write to those existing copy sections. Though it actually tends to work better to have the writer drive the design to help carry the buyer along visually on that particular journey. Now, we already talked about the interview. There, if you find that your writer only asks about the company and doesn't ask about customers, thank them for their time and find another writer. A good writer will dig deeper, make fresher connections, and a stronger case, rather than merely parroting back whatever the business owner says, just in nicer words. If you have a limited budget, consider having the writer write just the home page and other prominent sections of the site, so at least those areas will have a more professional touch. Finally, once the writer has done their first draft of copy, of course, the client will have a chance to review it and ask for revisions if something seems misleading or a certain phrase doesn't sound right in that particular industry. And other than minor word changes, I'd say the client shouldn't try to rewrite the copy themselves, but rather tell the writer the reason for the change. The writer, of course, will submit one or more additional drafts of copy until the client is happy and signs off on the final copy. Who says you can't find good, authentic stock photography? By the way, copywriters can also do a copywriting refresh on an existing website, but it helps if there's some layout flexibility. In the case if you do go out and hire a writer, the fact that if you go out and hire a writer, the fact that you're aware of some of the issues we talked about today will make you a better point person for that copywriter. My smart colleague Kathy Druin back there offered this insight.
What did I say? Really?
So hopefully today we can agree that the visual part of a website, while certainly super important, only takes the company and the customer halfway there. Earlier, I asked 3 questions. How do we actively sell these days without sounding salesy? Well, by honestly focusing on what the customer is trying to achieve and not just on what the company thinks of themselves. Next, how do we engage an online audience with a notoriously short attention span? Well, by putting strong benefits in prominent headlines and taking a scanner-first approach to a layered website. And then finally, how do we stand out among competitors who pretty much sell the same thing? Well, by zeroing in on that one unique benefit, insight, or idea that shows that you understand your customers and their needs better than anyone else. Also, I know that some companies might want to take a more authentic approach, and it's fine to dial back on the marketing as long as we still stand for something other than just our business services. In either case, I think there's just more upfront justification for redoing any company's website if, in addition to a nice design refresh, they're getting a smart message refresh, because companies, shift their business focus and market trends change over time. And yes, copywriting is an expense just like anything else, but when it's done right, it's not just about the writing. I mean, there's a consulting aspect to this that helps to clearly define and position the brand itself. For example, a web design firm whose strength is really fast implementation could be positioned as the go-to source for, say, event websites, which often have to be thrown up pretty quickly. So, same company plus a fresh set of eyes could lead to new opportunities. Anyway, do me a favor, next time you see a website and say, hey, that's a great website, I want you to stop, look closer, and ask, well, is it actually a smart business website, engaging people and drawing them to pose a response, or is it simply a nice looking website design? So separate the strategy from the aesthetics next time you judge a new site, and you'll see how other companies build a meaningful case for themselves, or not. In the meantime, there's a URL up here, I guess, left over from WordCamp, with the slides and a fun little ebook. Anyway, I know that was a lot to throw at you, but lucky for you. That's all I got.
Any questions for Tom?
I need your business card.
I can make this sufficiently complicated that you're not going to try it yourself.
How do you address, when you're working with clients and you're trying to persuade them to do what you said, which I agree 100% is important, this informal approach and not be this corporate BS kind of approach? How do you go about convincing them when they're hanging by their fingernails to be this corporate formal style? I see a lot of companies worry about their professionalism and terrified about going to informal.
I find if you just go ahead and present something that is more human, more conversational, I think they do get drawn into it themselves because, you know, they are human. And then I think it also makes sense sometimes to offer a rationale when you're presenting the copy, why you did things a certain way. And that not only helps them for trying to substitute sometimes their own misguided ideas, but if you're not in touch with all the decision makers, a written rationale will help explain why you did things to other people in the company so that it carries a little more weight. Chris?
To kind of tail off of his question, what's your perspective on, and to use that corporate entity as an example for a company that have different sites for different purposes? I think you mentioned that earlier. So you have like a brochure type of site to keep the board happy, to keep the stockholders happy, to keep the higher-ups happy. But then if you're B2B and you have a sales force that you really need to engage, you need to capture and convert, to have a separate site that speaks more to them, and that can, where you can incorporate more sales copy in that versus the first one where it's more of a fluff site. Right,
right. Well, I mean, it's tricky because the company's URL has to be one or the other, but maybe you can convince the client to take their corporate page and make it a page on the website that's not necessarily the home page.
You have it says corporate bullshit.
Right, that's the URL.com.
I feel like it's almost the difference between talking to a contractor who's working on your house. Do you want them to tell you all the heavy technical terms that they use for the physics of their architecture? Or do you want them to use layman's terms so you actually understand what it is that they did?
Right, exactly.
What kind of publishing software do you recommend for blogging?
Publishing software other than WordPress?
Yeah. Well, I'm new to this, so.
Okay, all right. WordPress. Yeah, it's really pretty flexible. And, you know, most sites have regular marketing pages and then separately, a blog, and it's all part of the same website.
Tom, do you, when you're approaching a client and the branding is off on the site, and you got to do a good job as a writer to sell a product or service. Do you try to do the best? I mean, I know you try to do the best you can doing whatever you're stuck with if you are stuck. But do you try to improve the branding in the copy you're doing, even if it doesn't fit the rest of the branding of the site? Or do you say, hey, listen, I got to keep this thing consistent and work with their world? I know it's a devil's argument.
Well, I mean, first you try to make the best case you can for what you think is the right approach, and quite often I'll ask the client, okay, well, let's look at this from the customer's point of view and see if you can sell what you think works, and if you can, then like I said, you do the best you can. But if I can get away with it, I'd rather have the home page be good branding, good copy that reaches out to customers, and even if we've got some interior pages which may have some inconsistency in their approach, I'd rather have that than have a home page that people are going to look at and hit the back button.
How long is too long?
How long is too long for copy?
Yes.
Well, I think for talking about marketing pages or blogs.
Or a homepage, blogs.
Well, I think blog posts can be between I think 300 maybe 1,000 words or so, and product pages will vary. One way to approach product pages and home pages, I think, is that we would kind of fill out, have enough copy there, but we also want to keep our initial messages pretty brief. So what I want to do is have several sections of the home page on the top that each have short blocks of copy, and then have a section at the bottom with longer copy, and that way we kind of fill out the page, we make Google happy, and whether people scroll down to read the denser copy at the bottom or not, it really doesn't hurt us. So, and people can control their own experience, whether they just read the top short copy or they keep reading. That's up to them.
I don't know if it's a design issue or a writing issue, but I'm noticing that some websites